Hey YouTubers, this is the Gold Standard 924 coming at you with another video for you guys today. So I was watching the Royal Rumble just last night on the WWE network, and overall I gotta say I really enjoyed this show. Definitely think that this was without a doubt the best Royal Rumble pay-per-view in the 2010. Now I do realize, with the Royal Rumbles, they've just been very questionable in terms of the booking and as far as the winner of the Royal Rumble matches from years past. But this year, however, I think a lot of people, including myself, are very satisfied with the end result. Now, the undercard preliminaries aren't necessarily were all that spectacular. Where last year's undercard matches I felt delivered a lot better than the actual Royal Rumble match from that previous year. But the Royal Rumble 2018 this year, I really feel that it's kind of the other way around, where the Royal Rumble 30 man, 30 woman Royal Rumble matches were far superior compared to the undercard matches this year. I hope that makes sense. Overall, I think even with the undercard preliminaries, they weren't necessarily like terrible, but they just kind of lack something that the previous year had. The most important thing is that the main event of the pay-per-view is really the selling point in terms of, two Royal Rumble matches, which is basically the first time in this pay-per-view that we had not just one but two separate 30 person Royal Rumble matches. Also, factoring in that this is the first ever women's Royal Rumble match in history as well. That aside, I'm just going to kind of just basically give out my brief thoughts concerning about the pay-per-view matches. I'm not going to mention any of the kickoff shows, but just basically the matches featured on the main card. Now, the first match that opened up the pay-per-view was a handicap match between the champion AJ Styles defending the WWE title belt against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, when I heard about the news that they were going to make this a two-on-one handicap match, I really had to scratch my head. It's like, how is this all possible? It's not a triple threat match. When it comes to being the WWE champion, there can only be one person holding that title belt. It was just kind of like one of those really oxymoronic moves that WWE has made. I know they did this a few times in the past. I think they did a handicap match at Unforgiven where The Rock was the World Heavyweight Champion, and I think he might have defended the belt against Booker T and Shane McMahon, if I'm not mistaken. But it's been a long time since I've seen that match. But even years before, I think it was Breakdown 98 also, but that wasn't really a handicap match, but it was presented as a triple threat match between Stone Cold Steve Austin as the WWE champion taking on Undertaker and Kane. But the thing is that rather than having a traditional triple threat where Undertaker and Kane were to face each other in the three-way, it was one of those really weird de facto handicap matches where Taker and Kane, despite being on opposing sides, all of a sudden they can't really lay a hand on each other. That's kind of what I feel about this particular idea of this WWE title match being a handicap match. It's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, it's there can only be one person unless somehow, some way, Kevin and Sami all of a sudden pin the champion at the same time, which I was afraid that that was going to happen, but it turns out that wasn't the case. The match was pretty good. It wasn't out of this world by any stretch of the imagination. AJ Styles managed to defeat Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to retain the WWE title. AJ Styles used a counter roll-up victory on Kevin Owens to get the victory. Now, it was kind of weird, especially with the ending, since Kevin Owens wasn't the legal man at the time that he got pinned. So I think there was some confusion at the end of the match, even though Kevin Owens tried to tag in, but the referee didn't see it. So that kind of also laid some confusion as well. I'm not sure if they're going to address that controversy on SmackDown, but maybe they will, to kind of prolong the feud for whenever it comes time for them to have a rematch of sorts. But the match was fine. It started off pretty slow at first, but it definitely gets better as the last few minutes rolls in. So AJ Styles did manage to overcome the odds and defeated Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to successfully retain the WWE title. Now we have is a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Smackdown Tag Team titles. The Usos going in as the champions, taking on Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. Now I haven't really followed SmackDown Live too closely, especially the past several months. I've really impressed with some of the promos that the Usos have been cutting ever since ever since they started turning heel just about 2016, just when they were starting with the relaunching of the brand extension. But yeah, over time they've really started to impress me with their promos, really showing a lot more cutting edge to their characters as opposed to when they were baby faces. They were always just kind of like one of those generic smiley goody two shoe baby faces. Here we get to see a lot more cutting edge to them, sort of like the kind of the modern day version of the Briscoe brothers. With Chad Cable and Shelton Benjamin, I mean, it's great to see Shelton Benjamin back. I know my YouTube username is the nickname where I got the origins of that, as far as Shelton Benjamin's nickname used to be the gold standard with the blonde hair that he would used to have. It's great to see Shelton Benjamin back in the WWE again, although I do kind of wish they put him back in singles action. I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's bad that he's a tag team specialist, but I know Jason Jordan's on Raw, and he, along with Chad Gable, used to be American Alpha, but Jason ended up getting traded over or drafted over to Raw in a relationship that he had with Kurt Angle and being his quote unquote father. Really, I mean, the Shelton Benjamin Chad Gable pairing isn't so bad, but I kind of wish that Shelton could branch out into singles competition once again, maybe going after the United States title or maybe even contend for the WWE title. But it is what it is. The Usos did manage to go over Chad and Shelton Benjamin in that 2 out of 3 falls match. And I didn't even guess, especially since, as far as the 2 out of 3 falls, that the Usos managed to get 2 straight falls over their opposing team, which was something that was kind of unexpected since I was expecting Chad and Shelton to eventually get to 1 fall apiece. But it turns out that wasn't the case, and the Usos managed to overcome the odds and walk out of the 2 out of 3 falls match, still the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Then we have is, surprisingly enough, the 30-man Royal Rumble match, and the winner of this match would get an opportunity to choose which particular world title that they're going to go after, or particular main title from one of the 2 brands, whether you're going after the Universal title on Raw or the WWE title on SmackDown. Now, this is like one of the very few Royal Rumble pay-per-views where the Royal Rumble match would not be the one that closes out the show, even though technically this year that they actually had the Women's Royal Rumble match main event. As far as the 30-man Royal Rumble match, this was actually really enjoyable. Just a lot of surprises here and there. Some really good performances, especially with Finn Balor being the Iron Man in this year's Royal Rumble match. I thought for sure that he was going to get eliminated like part way through, but surprisingly enough, he actually stuck around about nearly an hour, or at least it felt like 2 hours. But I think, yeah, this Royal Rumble lasted about an hour and 5 minutes and 27 seconds, at least while I'm looking as far as the match length. But this was actually a really entertaining Royal Rumble. I mean, the pay-per-view was held in Philly, so going into it, it was just, after all the controversy that happened in 2015 with the Roman Reigns debacle and the fans just completely rejecting him. But this year's, it seems like WWE really stepped their game up and started to take criticism to heart after learning from the controversy that happened the last time they held a Rumble in Philly. But yeah, they were very satisfied with the end result. The crowd really had a blast, and they were just basically just practicing their countdown number, and just they were just having a blast overall. Shinsuke Nakamura ended up winning this Royal Rumble match. He was the last of the four, consisting of Roman Reigns, John Cena, and I think it was Finn Balor as well. So Balor was, I believe, the first out of the four remaining, and John Cena would get eliminated by Shinsuke, coming down to him along with Roman Reigns. So there was just a lot of back and forth suspense that was going on throughout that match. And Shinsuke managed to eliminate Roman Reigns, and being the first, I guess you could say, the first Japanese wrestler in history to actually win a Royal Rumble match. Now that he has chosen that opportunity to go after the WWE title that's already on Smackdown, Shinsuke is going to go into WrestleMania challenging AJ Styles for the WWE title. So yeah, I definitely really thought that this was really, without a doubt, the match of the night. Then we have as a match that I was surprised that this was even on the card, because I don't think this was originally scheduled to be on this card, because originally there were supposed to be two matches that were announced for this pay-per-view. One of them was a cruiserweight title bout that had Enzo Amore defending his title belt against, I believe, Cedric Alexander. But with all the controversy surrounding the sexual allegations that's been bestowed upon Enzo Amore, so WWE eventually suspended him before releasing him out of the company entirely. That match got scrapped, and the title belt subsequently got vacated. We also had, I think, another match. They said there was like two matches that were supposed to be on here. A tournament final for the vacated United States title bout. Now, Dolph Ziggler was the champion going into the new year, but at some point he got injured, so they had to do a tournament to determine the United States champion. And they basically pushed this tournament up a lot sooner than they did, because the finals, I believe, was supposed to be at the Royal Rumble, but they did it on a SmackDown. Bobby Roode defeating Jinder Mahal in the finals to win the United States title. So that's also another match I believe that was supposed to happen, but they just kind of pushed it sooner than they did. This match was for the Raw Tag Team title belts. Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan going in as champions, taking on The Bar, which is aka Sheamus and Cesaro. This match just kind of really dragged. I think a lot of the fans were completely burnt out from the Royal Rumble match. And if there was ever a time to do like those intermission segments, this should have been the opportunity to do it. There was just really no need to have another match going after this. There really wasn't. I mean, the match didn't even have to drag on as long as it did, or not even added on the card to begin with. They could have just done like a little segment here to kind of ease down on the audience after just being completely blown away from the Royal Rumble match. This match was just kind of underwhelming, and you could really tell that, especially like Seth Rollins, who competed in the men's Royal Rumble match from the previous match. So he had to do some double duty here, and the same applies with Cesaro and Sheamus. Now, Jason Jordan wasn't technically a part of the men's Royal Rumble, so there might be some heated animosity that might be acknowledged on Raw tonight, but who knows? But yeah, the only thing that was memorable was Cesaro and Sheamus regaining the Raw Tag Team title belts, and just not really that good or great of a match overall. I think it's just more the fact that the audience was just pretty burnt out from the previous match, and I honestly don't blame them. That combined with the fact that they've been doing this match so many times on Monday Night Raw, it's not even funny. So Cesaro and Sheamus walk out as your new Raw Tag Team Champions. Then we have is the triple threat match for the Universal title. Brock Lesnar going in as the champion, taking on Braun Strowman and Kane. As far as Kane's comeback's concerned, he's really kind of on his last legs, I guess you could say. I just kind of scratched my head it's like, why is he even in the match to begin with? And I know like Braun and Brock had their encounter at No Mercy, and their match was pretty underwhelming, to be honest. Brock just decimating Braun Strowman with one F5, and Braun didn't even kick out once, which kind of scratched my head in a way. Braun still has some high momentum even despite that loss. But I had a feeling that he wasn't going to win this match, unfortunately, as much as a lot of fans have wanted Braun to be the odds-on favorite to win the title. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. Brock Lesnar being portrayed as the underdog compared to the two competitors involved in the match. So that kind of tells you something, really. I mean, in all the times that Brock Lesnar's been kind of like this powerhouse that's just cleaning house and decimating his opponents like nothing. But ironically enough, he is the underdog, strangely enough. But I mean, this match wasn't completely boring. There were some table spots that they used. Braun Strowman doing a couple power slams on Lesnar and Kane. He did one table spot on Lesnar through a wooden table and another power slam on Kane through the announce table. So he's been coming off really strong in this match. And he didn't have to take the fall. Brock Lesnar managed to be pinning Kane, I should say, in order to win that triple threat match. So it hasn't completely devoured Braun Strowman's momentum, but it's just kind of what you expect as far as the end result of the match is concerned. And Lesnar managed to prevail and walk out as still your Universal Champion. It's highly likely he's going to go into WrestleMania. Maybe he'll fight Roman Reigns, as it seems like that's the direction that they may be going with. It wouldn't surprise me if they go in that route. I mean, especially since there's some speculation that this could potentially be Brock Lesnar's final match in the WWE since his contract is expiring pretty soon. Unless something happens where he renews his contract, but I haven't heard any news about that. But we shall wait and see. But I mean, this match was just a good match. I mean, just wasn't like all that spectacular. And then we get to the anticipated first ever Women's Royal Rumble match, thanks to Stephanie McMahon and her, her marketing and overhyping this freaking match and saying it's making history. It's about all this woman empowerment and we're making history, making history. And believe me, you're going to hear that a lot when you watch the match, especially with her and on commentary and how many times they keep saying making history. It's almost like a drinking game of sorts. Yeah, this 30 women's Royal Rumble match really delivered. There's some surprise entrances, especially with appearances by Lita, Tori Wilson, Kelly Kelly, Michelle McCool, Molly Holly, who surprisingly got a really huge pop. So it's really great to see her. I mean, she really stole the show in this match. It really showed that she was able to still go. Beth Phoenix also showed up as well. A lot of people were speculating Ronda Rousey was going to compete in this Royal Rumble match. And eventually we will get a little more into that since she does indeed show up at some point, just not in the match. But yeah, this match was just very straightforward. There wasn't really a whole lot of dull moments. I mean, there were some occasions where some of the competitors were rolling out to ringside, recuperating, and you couldn't really tell if they were already eliminated at that point. There was also a spot where Naomi just pulled a Kofi Kingston and basically utilizing certain objects in order to prevent herself from getting eliminated. Like she would use her athleticism to get back in the ring. Like she would just wheel in the reclining chairs that you would see the commentators sit on. So she would utilize like the reclining chair, she would utilize the barricade and try to figure out a way to get back in the ring without having both feet on the mat. That worked for a while, but Naomi did get eliminated not too long after that spot. Let me see. What other ones? I mean, there's just so much that happened, especially with 1 hour. Jacqueline also made her return as well, so it's cool to see her there. Lita actually showed up. I don't know if I mentioned about Lita's appearance on there, but even though she didn't show up on the 25th anniversary of Raw, but she does, however, show up here at the Royal Rumble. Number 30, a lot of people were pretty anticipated whether who's going to be, will it be Ronda Rousey, whether it be Trish Stratus. It turned out that it was actually Trish Stratus. It's really great to see her there, but she got to do her thing. And she gets eliminated. The Bella Twins also show up as well, and it was down to them and Asuka And she happens to be the odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble match, which she ended up doing and living up to that promise. And so she eliminated Nikki Bella, eventually being the number one contender to challenge. It was pretty vague, actually, but she does win the Royal Rumble match. But as far as her choosing, as far as which women's championship that she'll be going for, whether it be challenging Alexa Bliss on Raw or whether it be challenging Charlotte on SmackDown. So that's also a pretty vague ending when Ronda Rousey makes her appearance and coming out to the Joan Jett, the song Bad Reputation. And she was coming out there and she was basically making her presence known to everyone that was involved, particularly the champions and Asuka, the winner of that match. And there was also a brief handshake with her and Stephanie by the commentator booth. I mean, it was really cool just to see her, coming out there with the Roddy Piper attire and the jacket, especially since she's had a somewhat of a close relationship with Roddy Piper. I mean, it did make a mark out moment, I won't lie. Even though I don't necessarily follow MMA, I honestly can't really go into detail regarding about Ronda Rousey and her appearance on the show. The crowd did manage to be satisfied with what happened, especially after the match and even during the match itself, which was really enjoyable. Asuka, like expected, did, however, win the Royal Rumble match, being the first of that 30-woman Royal Rumble match to win it. And it's interesting enough because her and Shinsuke Nakamura are happen to be the uh, two Japanese wrestlers that like 10 years ago you wouldn't even expect like a foreign wrestler to even receive such a big accomplishment. And it was pretty groundbreaking. It was definitely really great that that they won the match, and even the Philly crowd was very satisfied with the show and the fact uh, that their favorites managed to pull it through and win their respective Royal Rumble matches. So it definitely had a feel good moment, I guess you could say. I mean, this was a really enjoyable Royal Rumble pay per view overall. Definitely the best out of the Royal Rumbles in the 2010s. I know a lot of Royal Rumbles in the past few years haven't been all that spectacular, but I mean, this particular pay per view deserves a pass. Two thumbs up. Really enjoyed it. Even with some of the undercard preliminaries being what they are, the whole selling point of this pay per view are the two Royal Rumble matches themselves, and those matches delivered. And so I think that really includes this particular installment of this Royal Rumble 2018 review. So let me know what you thought about this pay per view down in the comment section below. Tell me what your thoughts are. What were some of your favorite matches? Yeah, just feel free to comment down in the comment section below. And till then, this is the Gold Standard 00924 signing out.